The Bank of England just made a great case for owning cryptocurrency. I want to talk about that because they did something that is going to piss off a lot of people. They did something that I was really surprised with when I read it. So we're going to go over that. If you don't mind, hit subscribe underneath the video. Turn on that bell notification. If you want to check out what I buy and sell, you can look at the Patreon underneath the video. And there's also a link down there to Webull where you can get some free stocks. Just deposit any amount on the platform. Now, a couple years ago, 2016, at the World Economic Forum, the Danish politician Ida Auken talked about how you'll own nothing and be happy. Basically, you'll have no private property, nothing to your name. You'll rent clothes, a car, all that. You won't own your place of residence, and you'll be happy for it. You'll have no privacy. That made headlines. Recently, we had an article from the Wall Street Journal that said to skip breakfast to save money. And this caused a lot of backlash, basically causing people to think that the government's taking advantage of them, causing inflation, and then media is just brushing it aside, saying that that's basically fine. If you need to save money, just don't eat, basically. Now, these can be taken in one way, which is basically, hey, we realize that the government and big companies are kind of infringing on our own data, and it doesn't really seem like it's affecting us too much long term. So they're making kind of a view into the future where maybe we won't really care that much, and we are renting more things. You know, it's easier to rent a car than it ever has been before, or rent someone's house. This article, maybe it's saying, hey, it just makes sense. If some items are more expensive, then maybe you don't buy it. We're already obese here in America, so maybe lay off the food. But in the other sense, it takes away some of our fundamental human rights. At least that's what we think about, right? We're not allowed to eat breakfast anymore. We're not allowed to own anything anymore. That's not what we grew up understanding. Basically, we thought if you worked hard, you saved up, you could do great things with your life. You could buy what you wanted, when you wanted, how you wanted. Now today, the Bank of England states Brits need to accept their poor. The Bank of England's chief economist, Hugh Pill, commented that the Brits need to accept their poor as a result of inflation. He said, and what we're facing now is the reluctance to accept, yes, we're all worse off, and we have to take our share. And he goes on. Now, this obviously is a point of contention among people, whether they think that's a government's fault for inflation or whether they think it's, the consumers. They keep on buying when they can't afford to. We have credit card debt going up, and yeah, they do need to accept that they can't spend like they used to. That's the two sides of the story, I think. But it sounds really bad when a chief economist from the Bank of England, so the bank that is causing a lot of inflation. That'd be like the Fed, right? The Jerome Powell saying, hey, you're poor. You need to accept that you can't spend very much. It sounds really bad when they come out and say that. So we have this happening here today. And what's so interesting too is over the last year, people have gotten significantly in worse positions, I think, economically. The S&P 500 is down 5%. And inflation's at 5%. So people are basically 10% worse off. They're looking at investments versus the cost of living compared to last year. And a lot of items are a lot more expensive than that. Now, the reason I say this is good for crypto is a couple reasons. First of all, if we look at the M2 money supply and then also look at the returns of the S&P 500, they're almost the same. And just to be clear, M1 money is the money that are liquid, such as cash, checking, deposits, traveler's checks. M2 money is less liquid in nature and includes M1 plus savings and time deposits, certificates of deposits, and money market funds. So a lot of the liquidity that normal people have. So over the last 20 years, or over the last 30 years actually, basically since the SPY came into effect, you can see that the M2 money supply and the SPY are almost even. You can see just a couple 100% difference. So basically, if you invested in the S&P 500 30 years ago, you'd basically have stayed up with the inflation of the M2 money supply. Now, if you move that out just a couple of years, you can see these come a lot more in line. If you started investing in 2000, you'd actually be behind the M2 money supply expansion. So this shows that, just investing in the S&P 500, yeah, you're going to make more money. You're going to have more money than you did the year before and the year before on average. But the fact is, it doesn't really help you accelerate your path to becoming wealthy, right? It's basically a savings account that protects you from inflation. It's kind of interesting. At the same time, though, we have some assets like Bitcoin that kind of solve a lot of these problems. First of all, it's severely outpaced the M2 money supply expansion. It also allows you to not get inflated away, right? Like, you don't have to just accept that the government had to inflate the supply, right? There's only a fixed supply and it can't change. And you'll own it and you'll be happy. They can't take it away from you. Of course, you can sell it and you can take fiat money instead, which can be inflated away, or you can use it to buy different assets. But you can actually own it and no one can take it away from you if you hold it in cold storage, which I think is really beneficial. So Bitcoin, I think, is an asset that you want to hold. Even if it's just 1% of your portfolio, I think that is good diversification. And as you can see, we're moving into a world that owns less and less, is controlled by the government and is controlled by rich much more than in the past, controlled less and less by the people. And you're in a worse spot than you were a year ago, most likely. Unless you made a significant amount of money this year or you invested it really, really wisely, overall, we haven't made up a lot of ground in the last year. A lot of that's due to the government. Now, of course, this could all change. Inflation could keep coming down and the Fed could just magically stop printing money. But I don't think that's going to happen. And just to be clear in this video, I'm talking about Bitcoin specifically. Crypto has some of the same properties of Bitcoin, but Bitcoin has that fixed supply. It's non-confiscatable. It's permissionless. It doesn't have some central governing body really anymore. There's some development happening on it still, but it's not going to be controlled by a few key individuals. And it has large liquidity. It is working 24/7 for us. So I'm specifically talking about Bitcoin. Not every single cryptocurrency has that. So you have to keep that in mind throughout this video and in the future. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video though. Do you think this made a good case for owning some Bitcoin? Let me know in the comment section. Comment a money emoji if you've made it this far, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.